Now, what the history room is about, we like to start over on this end here is the older buses and trolleys and streetcars, and then you work your way around into the rest of the room where you go to the current stuff. In this particular room, then we have another room over there that it's a lot of reading as far as the strikes that we used to have and how the CTA has done a lot of things and the old representatives that used to work for the CTA. And then in the third room is basically the old clock that was on the Union Hall building, and I think that was at
Van Buren and Ashland.
Van Buren and Ashland. And we're very proud to be in this room, and we set it up so we can pretty much answer any questions that would be coming to us as far as what you need to know about different buses and contracts and things like that. Now I'm gonna let these other guys say a little something.
Trolley bus was fast. It was very fast on it. It was powerful. And if you give it too much power, oh man, you fishtailing all over the place. But when you learn to do and how to approach it and give it the power it needs, it would operate the same as any other bus. It was an interesting job, but you know, we had to learn how to do the job, and we had to learn what a bad shoe was on the bus, trolley shoe. A trolley shoe was the shoe that ran along the wire. And if you had a bad one, it made a lot of noise. On top of making a lot of noise, it came off the wire a lot. And the biggest problem was when it jumped off, you had to put it back on. And in order to get it back on the wire, you had to line it up. And in order to line it up, you had to, you know, play with it until you could get it straight. You would do okay unless a semi passed you with a body, a tall one. Because if you had a tall body on the truck, it would clip your rope. And if it clipped your rope, it would knock your post off. Now you're disabled because you don't have anything to get the pole back with because your rope has been clipped. And we didn't have phones on the buses like we do now, like they do now. You might have to wait for another bus to come to get to a phone to call, in those days it was called a dispatcher, to let the dispatcher know that you were disabled. And you also had to find someplace during the winter months that you could keep warm until help arrived. And help was not as proficient as it is now because your supervisor had radios, limited radios, but you are basically by yourself. Sometimes you get caught by a train, fire, whatever, and all the buses on one wire, so you line up. And no bus is going down the street, say, for the last half hour, and now you may have 6, 7 coming at one time because you couldn't go around each other. So you had the supervisor come out, and in those days we didn't switch back, we wired back. But you had to get to an area where there was a wild back place, and they were falling in between, so it was a mess. And back in those days, the streets were 2 minutes apart. It didn't take long to build a train of buses, and they all came down the street together because everybody was late. My worst day, I was working Grand Avenue. I was at Aberdeen and Grand, and my trolley came off. It was snowing, and I was trying to get the shoe back on the wire. Now, I tried for so long, the snow was falling in my eyes, and I was getting cold. So I had this brilliant idea that I'm going to pull the pole to the side of the bus, pull it down, take my hand and turn the shoe the way it's supposed to be to get on the wire. Shouldn't have done that. Touch this shoe. I haven't done that since. Anyone could come up and pull your post, pull it off the wire, and you're dead. So you sit there until you get off the bus, walk around the back, and then put the, you know, reattach yourself. That happened to me once in a pretty bad neighborhood, and I was afraid to stay on the bus and afraid to get off. Because I thought the guy that pulled the wire was still there, and I looked around and I looked around there and see him, so I took a chance. When I got out, that may have been my worst day, but when I got off the bus, they were gone. I've been retired almost 13 years now. And before I retired, the buses got so much improvement had been made. The old buses, I have driven a bus down the street where the windshield wiper was so bad it only had a little streak in the windshield where you had to peek through the snow to see. And then you took whatever you could, your newspaper, and you reached out the window and you knocked the snow down as best you could, and then you kept going. We were like the Pony Express. The bus must get through, and that was the attitude. When I first started in 1969, they were wearing a blue uniform that would not wear out. They phased them out because they were all shining like new money, but they were still good. So they phased us into a gray uniform here that we have on display. And that was a very durable, neat, professional-looking uniform. They found out over the years that the uniform was so durable, it wouldn't wear out. So any operator that had two uniforms didn't need any more, because to get one cleaned, 1 week, however often he wanted to get it cleaned, and it stood up to everything. And it was very durable to, I suppose the manufacturers say, well, we aren't making any money, so we got to come up with something, a lesser product. So they came with this polyester stuff that doesn't look good, didn't wear well, and got us out of those good, clean, neat, professional uniforms. But back in the day, that was a good, very decent uniform.
There was a wildcat strike, 68. The union, they didn't sanction it or anything like that. And we just decided that we felt as though that CTA wasn't doing us right. And the bus drivers, they went on strike. Now, the whole system didn't go on strike. Some of the buses on the north side were still running, and mostly it was south side garages and southwest garages. That was our first wildcat strike. And a lot of the members that was on that committee did get fired. It seems like people are really more afraid of their jobs now than they are, and I guess they kind of up to their neck in what they earn, and they can't afford to be off. But in those days, we took a lot of pride in that, and we were the type of operators that we felt if we were not treated right, that we were proud to stand up for what we believed in. So we struck those garages, and I was working at the Archer garage, and we held firm. And we had a lot of garages that held firm, and we wasn't afraid that we would lose our jobs, and we just took that chance. You know, it's just like any organizations back in those 60s and 70s and early 80s, we stood up. We stood up. There was a time that with CTA, you couldn't wear a beard. And you had to be clean, cut, shaved, and everything. And a lot of drivers resented that because they claimed that they had bad skin and they couldn't shave. And when the guys from the Vietnam area came to the job, there was a lot of problems with that. So, but guys stood up for it. And today you can see people wearing beards and stuff like that. And I would imagine that when the ladies first started working for CTA, they didn't want them, I don't think, wearing lipstick and earrings and things like that. And I imagine there was something to that too, because women were first on the job, and there were a lot of problems when women got hired, because a lot of men that didn't get hired were kind of envious at that, because they would say the women were taking their jobs. You know, and they run into a lot of problems. So the women's, they held tough on that. I have to admit that they held tough. And a lot of the women taught some of us a lot about things that we should not have accepted. I have to give them credit for that, and I really appreciate that.
The thing it is that the three of us, we're pretty proud of this history room, as Claude has mentioned, and hopefully those of you that see this video, of course, come out at the next labor conference and really come in and see the history room, and bring people, bring fellow members and family to come see what the past has been all about, as well as the future. We are of course, we are the union. You know, the members are the union, and of course, we're proud of the union. Yeah, that's why we're here. You know, and that's how we were able to retire, because of the union. The union was the one that took care of us, and of course, helped us with the contracts, and of course gave us the income that we needed to take care of our families and our future.
And I might add that we still in the market for any old paraphernalia that you might have. We do have a line on the super transfer, but we can't have too many. And any other items that you may have, any of you that may have from years ago, the older the better. But and hopefully you have a little history that go with whatever you can donate to us. We're going to type it up and put it, you know, in here. And the history is, you know, what our lives are based on, and you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So, like Jose said, we are very well pleased in having this room. I'm very well pleased that the union leadership now help give us a chance to put this together, and we expanded a bit from last year, and we're trying to make it better. So anything you can help us out with, we'd appreciate it.